Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and I have a very special show for you today. I'm always excited. I'm always happy when I have the opportunity to sit down with some of my dear friends. That's the best feeling because I know so many people, love so many people, and I want to introduce them to all of you. So today's guest is a dear friend of mine. She is amazing. I've worked with her. She's helped me in my personal life, Miss Amaya Victoria. Amaya is a renowned healer and channeler of Isaiah and the group, visionary for higher law and spiritual teaching, a natural empath and intuitive. Amaya has the gift of second sight. She looks beyond the limitations of the physical world in order to facilitate clarity, healing, truth, and peace on the personal as well as the cosmic stage. A Mother Earth messenger and protectress, Amaya is deeply connected to Indigenous knowledge and medicine and prophecy. Good afternoon, Amaya. How are you?
Hello, hello, Shafara. Hello, you beautiful people out there, you wondrous people, you magnificent people. I am doing relatively well. It's a little chilly out here in California still. I know my East Coast friends will probably be slapping their heads all over the place because our chilly is 64 degrees, you know.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Summertime on the East Coast. So well, the reason I say I try to come forth when I'm introduced or I come onto any form of platform, hello, you wonderful people, is I had a dear friend. She's 12 years my senior. And if we count time, she's 77, I'm 65. And she would say that to me every time she picked up the phone. She'd say that to everyone. And it struck me as such a necessity, really, to say to someone, hello, you wonderful person, you. Because therapists and healers have made a ton of money trying to heal the fact that someone didn't say that to someone early on, you know? And I also call people magnificent because it was taught to me that we can carry so much suffering, so much pain and joy, and yet still want to live fully, love fully, be the best we can be. And if that is not magnificent, I just don't know what is. We have many people out there, you know, it's a matter of perspective, I think, because what I carry that gets me out of the bed on the wrong side some days may be that much of someone else who's carrying like a chronic disease or looking at death and doesn't want to die, you know, or has had tremendous loss or internal suffering that's just not expressible at this moment. So it's a matter of perspective, isn't it? And it doesn't take away from whatever I get up in discomfort. I have to honor that. I need to talk to people. I need to pray. I need to go to spirit. But if we put everything into perspective, and I think that's what's happening on the planet now, we can call it all sorts of names. We can give it all sorts of blame. But I think it's a matter of honoring the perspectives we're all coming from, and also having some gratitude and also some humbleness that there are other perspectives that could be far worse for us and other perspectives that could be right better. You know, who's to say? We're all moving along together on this free way of life. Really, really. No, don't ask me how I got off on that. I have no idea.
It was beautiful, though. It just came through. I think
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. It was just a clear message that needs to be had today. It needs to be heard today. So, Amaya, tell us about your journey. How did you start on this incredible journey?
You know, I didn't start. God gifted me with an ability to perceive differently than other people. This was a gift. I love the movie out now, The Sixth Sense. When that movie came out, I could have kissed the director. I can never say his name correctly, so I won't try to, because I'll just butcher it up on him. He happens to come from my stomping grounds, which is Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He still lives there. Talk about humbleness. He could live out here. He lives there, and I because the land out there is just magnificent, really. So I was gifted with a different ability or a different way to perceive things. I see, I hear, I'm claw senses, whatever that means. I get it from all places. I've learned to control it. I've learned to hold it so that I wouldn't wind up in a mental institution somewhere because there was no filtering and no organization of it, you know. So how I came here to this place is I was born to do this. We all have our ministries. We all have specific tasks. Mine happened to be a little more directive since the beginning. I've seen spirit since I was very, very young. If I had been born into a tribe or a village, the healing people would have taken me from my parents about 5 or 6. And for 20 years, I've been initiated. And initiation is not an easy process. It's not. And when that was told to me by one of my teachers, when he spotted me, I must have gone whiter than I am now. I must have gone white on white on white because I had one heck of a life. It was a very hard childhood for me. I came up hard, as they say, in a very deep dysfunctional family.
I'm sorry to hear
deep.
that.
Well, it can be a sad thing, and it is in some ways, but it has made me who I am. Melissa Etheridge has a beautiful, one of her songs, I don't know which one, that says, I will never understand all the things, how did she put it? I will never understand all the things that have happened. All I know is they've made me who I am. And that's really the truth. So I came up hard. I came up crying inside a lot, ostracized, not wanted, or feeling not wanted. But it was so early on that even the people that wanted me, I couldn't let in. You know, I realized that later. I spent a lot of money, a lot of time in therapy and healing because I knew I had to. And those two hands run hand to hand together. Because on one hand, the reason I live like I live, not only for my own karma dharma, but so that I can sit with you, I can sit with people, and when I say something, they know I know. And I don't even try to act like I know if I don't, because that's an insult. And on the other hand, then I understand their process of reaching for the light again and how beautiful, wonderful, and strenuous that can be. Really, because it's the emotional body. So when I was little, I used to tell my mother to take the people out of my room. Now, of course, it was not with the human eye. And there was one earthbound woman who really scared me for a long time. They call her an obulus or ambulus. I forget the word. For some reason, I have a Gemini moon, but the English language befuddles me at times. And I don't know what that is at all. I used to call her the witch at the window. My mother would pick up the shade and say, there's no one here, but I could see her. But she lasted for the longest time and frightened me until she eventually dissipated. I used to have dreams that I was either the baby in my parents' arms being shown to an old woman, or I was the old woman getting ready to become the baby. I had that dream for a long time. So I knew at a very young age, I perceived this world much differently. I would stand in front of others, and I was 3 years old, 4, and look at them as if I'm looking at you and think to myself, you're over there, I'm over here. You have your feelings and your way of perceiving. Now, those were not all the words. I was young. And I have my way, and they may be the same, but I will never be able to experience your way. That's what I thought at 3 to 5 years old. That's my conceptual way of living from a very young age. I put these gifts, or tried to put these gifts away for many, many years. They were quashed down because of the darkness in the household, but they came out of my dreams. I dreamt the night the night before John Lennon was killed. I dreamt for years about the Challenger blowing up. I mean, it sounds awful. I dreamt all the catastrophes, and I would say it for years. And when I finally stopped dreaming it unfortunately happened. You know, I spoke about much that's going on nowadays. My cousin tells me I always talked about this field. I was always interested, so she's not surprised that I'm here. I met my first teacher, Evelyn Isidore, at 24, 25 years old, 24, 23, 24. I was married with 2 children, and it's like somebody put me in the middle of a candy shop.
Mm-hmm.
I had read every book I could get my hands on from 15 to 24 about this. Ruth Montgomery, Arthur Ford, all about the walk-ins, etc., the star people, psychic development. Used to read there was a woman in the Inquirer in Philadelphia. She used to put her predictions every day, and I thought, that's who I want to be like, not knowing what that meant at the time. One thing leads to another, right? That's life, right? Had a couple marriages, had children, and at 25, 26, I began to step out. I was asked to step out and help the world at the same time healing myself, and that was quite a task.
Now, before we go into the 25 and helping the world and healing the world, how did you deal with everything? How did you handle everything personally, especially since you saw the world one way and just about everyone else saw the world another way? That had to be very emotionally draining for you.
It was very painful, actually, because I had to suppress that part. And I couldn't speak about it. And it got to a place for a long time that I thought it was me. There was something wrong with me, as well as I thought that's how everyone else worked. I had no reference point. Remember, what is going on today, I channeled and predicted, even just as me, at 25 years old, that everything would become mainstream. And my friend Barbara and I used to look at each other and go, how could that happen? Oh, ye of little faith. It's God hasn't done bigger things than this, really. And then I had karma to deal with. You know, the karma cycle has ended, the karmic cycle. Now we're really into doing decision making out of our own integrity and our own healthy will, so that we live good lives. Before, we were held to task in many things, really held to task, because the cycle had to be completed. So I had my own karma and began a process of, I had to do a lot of psychotherapy later to reinterpret what grounding was, and it wasn't suffering. But at that time, there was not much I could do with what I knew or what I saw except live with it, because there was too much else going on that I was just having to deal with in the day-to-day living as a child.
So, Amaya, let me ask you, I want to understand what you said and what you mean when you say, I predicted the world was going to go mainstream. I think mainstream is a term that a lot of people use. We mentioned the mainstream media, that sort of thing. What did you specifically predict, and what did you see?
Well, it's not mainstream in incorrect information, because there's a lot of accusation with mainstream media now, which I tend to agree with. There's something not right, and I can taste it. But I haven't watched the news or read a newspaper in almost 30 years, so don't go by me. I don't. I stopped years and years ago because there was too much violence and it was affecting me, because that's all they talked about, and I can't tolerate that. What I mean by mainstream is exactly what has happened in the last 15, 20 years. Books. It's not in the closet. It's not like expos in the back rooms anymore. Right? This is in books. It's all over the Facebook. Everybody's a channel and a healer. Forgive me, there's some magnificent channel and healers coming up now, but please get yourself teachers. I had teachers. You need teachers. We need circles, but not to get off on that whole thing about the circle effect, not the pyramid effect, but the circle effect of the elders on the outside, the adults, and then the children in the center. So mainstream books, crystals being talked about, stores opening, selling crystals being handed off from one to another, talking about spirit, talking about channeling, talking about spiritual phenomena, having dead people show up to communicate. It sounds really crazy. I don't know how else to put it. Having
so I was just wasn't clear.
Having a phenomena of because the veils are thinning, of things that you can't explain, but are not illogical. They have logic to it.
Right. So I just wanted to be clear. So what you were saying is the metaphysical movement has become more mainstream.
Well, mainstream in the sense as out in front.
Okay.
You know, it's no longer, when I first started with Evelyn and Isadora, my first teacher, we met in her living room, and she was Scorpio, actually a retired teacher, but she was magnificent in all this. But it wasn't, you know, we didn't talk about it much outside of our circles. And there were plenty of circles to go to, but not like today where that's it, it's everywhere, So I mean mainstream in a much different way than it's been interpreted in the last 2-3 years. You know, I just mean that it's in the mainstream, it's streaming down the main river now. You know, there's no getting around the fact that heaven has come to earth, and now we need to let it really lead us and blossom.
That is beautiful. Now, when you say mainstream, again, I'm just kind of focused on this for a moment.
Okay.
Do you feel that's a good thing? I know you mentioned a little bit about more people needing teachers, or do you feel like it was different when you just had it in the circles?
You know, I don't know, because I don't like change a lot. I have to watch my own opinions on things, you know, because I'm like, oh no. And then, you know, it's like contempt prior to investigation. Really, I have had to learn to like zip it up a little faster than I'm East Coast. What's in my head comes out my mouth. So I've had to learn to try to put a filter and wait, because there may be more information. I've learned that with my clients. I could be with a client for 3 years, and one day they say, by the way, did I tell you I was married twice? And I never had that information, and it spun everything another way. So we really need to walk in each other's moccasins and gather more information before what we call judgment occurs, really, which may be just calling something out or calling it the way it is, you know. But in this is a mixed bag for me, because yes, we want this out front because it's really what's going to save our lives and bring us home. What we call God, or what we call the heavens, or whatever this is, it has no name or face. And at the same time, men and women are jumping in without the consideration of the welfare for the population by making sure that they are physically, emotionally, and spiritually fit. Now, you do come onto the healing path with the intention of healing yourself or helping others. It gets thinner and thinner, and you're held to it. Higher the path, the thinner it gets, really. And so you will be cleansed and purged. Don't balk at that, because that's the necessity of pure exchange of energy. So that's what I mean by that. I do believe that we're not doing enough teachers. We're not, and I believe that's the next call, is for the elders, men and women, to step up. You know, just because I have purple hair doesn't mean I'm not an elder, and this hair is not really.
I love your purple hair. I love your colors.
One must have purple, mustn't one? So, you know, I'm all white. And one day I'll let it go. I have great green eyes, and it'll probably make them pop even more. But right now, I'm very much like my grandmother, unfortunately. My mother went gray. I remember my grandmother saying, "Oh no, you will bury me with this color." So I'm very much like my grandmother in so many ways.
I love it though. To me, your purple is your personality. Because it's like, to me, sometimes it's like you're safe, but then you see this purple hair and it's like, oh, okay, she thinks outside the box. She's creative. She wants to blur the lines. So that's what I see and what it represents to me whenever I see you. So I love your purple hair. Yes, now,
go ahead. You go.
No, I want to go back to something you said, because I'm one of those people that everything you do intrigues me. All of this intrigues me. I love just having an opportunity to sit down and speak with you, because I always take something away. I always learn something, either about myself or about what's going on in the world. Something you mentioned about the veil. I can't remember verbatim.
The veils are lifting.
Okay, what does it mean that the veils are lifting, and why? I can't say why, but what's different from this time frame as opposed to any other time in history?
Oh, this is the fourth time we've attempted to do this, which is to get to those levels of really deep connection to the spiral and to the higher ways of living without it being interfered with the unhealedness, the unhealed ego, personality, the fear. This is why everything's up, been thrown like 52 pickup, like 50,000 billion pickup in this world right now. So the lifting of the veils means the blindness is coming off for us. And unfortunately, as a blindness, or fortunately, because so many people have suffered for so many millions of years and so many reasons. And it doesn't mean suffering won't end. Life is life. But the unbidden, unspoken lines in the sand have got to go. Have got to go. And not just in skin color, but in walks of life, all ways of going. So those veils lifting means that we are no longer being afraid to be blinded by the light, or are we being blinded by our fear? And that means the communication between spirit and us. We're also spirit in the human form. Every time I say it lately, I hear the band, the Police, singing that song in my head. So there must be something up with that. I should write about it. That people are more open to listening and believing. Also, they're coming. I hear TikTok now is a big thing for the young people, and they're all like, the crystals are using that platform to get the kids out, the young ones out, to go buy crystals. And to me, that's not just a fad, that's like, whoa, the crystals are making such a statement. They want to be everywhere because they're going to be the baseline for everything else that's going to be coming to meet us and how we're rising up. So those veils, when I started, we didn't talk about this. This was like, something you did in a dark room with ectoplasm coming out of people.
Right.
That's what I mean by that.
That's amazing. Now, you have a couple of things that are going on in your life that I personally am very excited about. You're back on the radio. You have a new podcast. Let's talk about those.
I know. Never, always expect the unexpected. My small mind told me it was all over with. I was at a certain age. I just couldn't do it. I went through about 10 years of ill health. I still feel my age some mornings, but I'm exercising again, so that's easing up because I'm an ex-weightlifter. I need that exercise to feel alive. I feel alive. Okay, so God, sometimes I'm just so odd. I just don't know what to do with myself.
It makes it fun, though. You're fun to me. I love it.
So the podcast, I am determined to sit down with all walks of life with a spiritual basis. It could be someone who puts crystals in water and charges it, the reason why they're charging that water, how that works, what their prayer is. I just did a podcast with Joe Dunn, who is the COO of 3 magazines, The Natural Awakenings in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania. We talked a lot about community and family and what that means. So please come to my website at amayacenter.com. Email me at amaya@amayacenter.com and let me know you'd like to be on the show. I will interview you because I want to make sure you can be on the show. But everything from that, and I am not threatened by other channels or healers. I welcome them to come on my show so that we can discuss. And just like you, I don't know what we're going to discuss. It just kind of pops in my head and we're off and running. I will get a bio from you though, so I have an idea, so I can have some questions. And that's every Tuesday. The first drop will be April 13th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, I believe it is. And it'll be on Anchor FM, is that it?
Yes, on iTunes, on all the major podcast platforms.
All the mainstream platforms, whatever that means anymore. The radio show, which is on Wednesdays, is Messages to the World on Power 91 FM. And it's a talk show, and I have 2 hours. I play music, and no, I don't play harp music. I remember years ago when I was putting that show together the first time, Messages to the World on Party 93.4, the gentleman who was helping me, we were listening to harp music, and he looked at me and said, Amaya, are you really a harp person? I said, no. He said, what are you? I said, I'm rock and roll. So I play rock and roll. My first song in is generally a rock and roll song in, but it has a message to it. It's all tied in to the beauty of of our world and the people, even the struggles, that magnificence. It's not just spiritual. I talk about many, many things. I'm going to be talking about depression. We have to talk about this. You know, it runs in my family. I've had bouts of it, particularly now with all the doors closed. Okay, they're starting to open, but people, the fear has, and it's like the poor cousin of all the mental illness.
Right.
It is a biochemical problem. So I've been doing a show about that. You know, we'll be talking about if someone's seeing Christ and they're not in a mental institution, we'll talk about that. You know, just so people not only will be sparked in their information, but whoever's drawn to the podcast, to the radio show or the podcast, will be given something, not just to uplift them, but to move them forward. I'm all about forward movement. The word I came in on was freedom. I'm all about freedom. And the biggest freedom is the freedom from fear. So don't forget that.
I love that, the freedom from fear.
Right.
Because that's what you said, the darkness is the fear that people have been feeling.
Yes, they've been carrying it a long, long time, generation after generation. We get the gift of releasing it. I wish we would stop attacking each other with it still. It makes me want to cry. There's been enough attack. We have the dark skin, because it's not just African American. They come from Ethiopia. That God knows where they've come to the Americas from, who have suffered tremendously of it, and all people have lived in tremendous pain. It's enough already. So we honor that. We listen. We do some sort of like sitting in council where we really look at where the tear in the society is. You see, the Indigenous councils, the One Nation people, what they used to do, I imagine, I don't know if they do it still, is they would bring the harmed and the harming to the center of the circle to find out where the tear in the society was. And that's what we need, that we need to be walking towards that place now and crying as we walk, because this has been all of us together. You're tortured for something, I'm going to feel it. You have a joy, I'm going to feel it.
Yes, I want you to feel the joy. I want you to feel the joy, Amaya.
Enough of all this other stuff.
Yes.
Enough already.
Yes. Talk to us about Isaiah in the group. How did that come about?
Isaiah, God bless them. That word means the coming of the God self. They are not from the Bible. They're a magnificent group that many have lived here, many have not. Many are so close to the God source. Some are galactic. And they came together for the salvation of the population and for Earth. And they told me years and years ago, you all have done this 3 times. The 4th time, we're betting you're going to get around the corner this time. Isaiah comes through, and no matter what they're talking about, you can feel their love. They know things that I don't know. They say it a certain way, they spin it a certain way that even for me is like sometimes like, whoa. They know your language, so they're going to speak to you in your words. And if we have a moment, we can let them speak. I don't know. I'm not looking at the time. I'm not.
We have a moment. I would love to, if there's a message.
Okay, well, I just heard, wait a minute, do a few more things. And then do we have time?
We always have time for you, Amaya. I am here to be of service. So a couple of more things. In the meantime, one of the questions I wanted to ask is, you mentioned the mainstream and more people becoming healers and channelers and helping with the message. For someone like myself, I always dreamed of being a channel or delivering messages, but then every time I go on YouTube and watch a video or try to take a course to learn how to do it, it never really works, or I don't follow the process. What would you recommend to someone who wants to start out?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start at the end of the question, the answer, and come back. When we all are coming to a certain level, all the channels and the teachers, first of all, my dream is to get land and have a sanctuary and bring the teachers and healers to that land and download to them what I have and beyond, so they can take it to whatever's left of this world when we're done with it. And it's going to be a big thing. Not my big thing, but a big thing. So it's community. Everything must be community based. We must be the offerings to this world, not the consumption any longer. Those of us assigned or in agreement, we can't do it for prestige, power, or ego. We should get paid well while we still have the monetary system. Why not? You know, one of the big healers, the medical medium, kind of took us all to the carpet on that one time. She said, you need to stop this whole martyr process. You need to get paid what you're worth. Mm-hmm. Really. Now, I have that in my knowledge, but don't think I'll turn you away. We'll work something out. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the way it is. Love is love. Healing is healing. So the first thing is to know that the whole vision of this is for all these people to, we have to start making circles in community. It's the only thing that's going to bring us home. Only thing is community. Second of all, everyone channels differently. I didn't go to classes. I mean, I had teachers, but I was never taught to channel. It happened. Then I was taught how to control it, so I wasn't like blowing pockets out of myself here. For someone like yourself, then you're being told not that way. You channel in other ways. You do it in your way. I know what you're saying to me. You want, like, the messages that come. Look what Isaiah just did. They said, we'll talk in a minute, but there's a few other things. They knew. That's how magnificent they are. There's a few other things. Talk about those things first, because actually talking about this leads it up to them talking, doesn't it? Yes. So I don't have, well, maybe I do have an answer for you directly. For people like you, something wrong here. That either you'll find your teacher in those classrooms, or you'll see that you're doing it in a different way. And I just saw a big crystal in my head, so obviously you need to be around the crystals. And don't be a little more patient, because you're building steam. You know, the train hasn't quite left the station yet, but you know those old trains, you know, with the steamer, I can see the wheel. Well, they had to get enough coal in there to start it. So that's what you're doing right now. And you do bring messages to people. You just do it on a more personal level. And we can't box things here. Is that any less profound than in front of 500 people like I used to do? If one heart is healed, then that's powerful in itself, isn't it? Right?
That is beautiful. Are we ready for a message? I'm excited.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
It did. And for others, you'll find your teachers. You'll find the way, but just understand, let spirit teach you. Mm-hmm. What if the most intimate thing we could do is build a relationship with our guidance systems, our ancestors, our own spirit, the spirit and others? Like Isaiah would say to me so many times, if you could see yourself through our eyes, you would never hurt each other again.
Oh, wow. That is beautiful. That must
make me want to cry, because it's really the truth. It's, you know, we bring it down from how God sees us, because sometimes that could be like, I wouldn't even know where to put that.
Right.
And just bring it down to our spirit selves. If we could remember that we actually see each other. I'll give you one more question, and then we'll do one more story, and then we'll do this if we have time. Do we have time?
We have time.
Okay. And there's a great example of this. I had a mentor, and we had a falling out, and it was a big blow, because we're twin flames. So it was like two atomic bombs going off simultaneously, standing together. And we didn't talk for over a year and a half. And we would run in the same circles. So I would wind up at meetings where he was, and he'd be sighing, and I was getting over it. I was moving a little faster than him, and it was annoying me. I just wanted to go up to him and kind of slap him and say, "Wait,
get over it!
For God's sake, let me throw my book at you." From across the room, he'd be like, "Oh, yeah," and I'd be like, "Oh." I just want to throw the book at him. So I went to bed one night, and I was really I missed him. My heart hurt. And it wasn't all my fault. It was something between us that had to be cleared. It was karmic. It really was karmic. You ever get in a situation with someone, and all of a sudden you're fighting about everything, you just know you got to walk through it. Right. It happened twice to me in my life, at least. So I fell asleep, and in the dream, all of a sudden he was there. And he was sitting in a chair, And I had come into the room. I couldn't see everyone in this room. It was almost like I knew it was a room, but it was almost spotlighted just on us. This is how profound this dream was. And I saw him and I panicked and I didn't want to be there and there was no way out. So he said to me, he waved me over and I came towards him really in trepidation. I didn't know what to do. And he said to me, "How are you?" And that voice he always used when we were together. And I said, "I'm all right." And he said, No. "How are you?" I said, "Well, blah, blah." I said, "I'm okay." He said, "I heard that you've been very ill. I want you to know I've been praying for you every day." And I woke up and I knew at that moment that all the shucking and jiving we can do in this world with our egos, well, you and you and you, on those levels, it means it's such a joke. It means nothing because that's the reality. Well, to finish the story, I walked into this room months later. He's sitting on the chair in the middle of the room. He happens to be the speaker that night. I don't know where to go, and I'm panicked. And anywhere in the room I sit, he's going to see me. We locked eyes, and I went, "Oh, you know what?" He went like this. I came over. He looked up at me and said, "How are you?" You know where it led. We finally started talking again, and we're like this.
Oh, that was beautiful.
So to answer your question, everything we take offense of here on those levels, we pay no mind to at all.
Mm.
All right, let's do something with spirit now that we've prepped for them to have like a step, a plateau to step on a platform here. So with spirit, as I take a breath, my East Coast accent most likely will not leave. The words I use will change. How loud or soft I speak will change. We'll have one speaker amongst many souls. And let's see what they have to say. It's like a pebble in the pond, you know. A pebble is a powerful thing. In the shoe, it makes you stop and reevaluate. In the pond, it sets out everything that has been so expressed. So the pebble in the pond must become a very sacred act. What are you dropping into that pond for others to be influenced by? What ripple effect are you considering? This is not to be based in fear. This is to be based in the connection with the higher way of thinking, being, and feeling. Emotions now are running high. They are blowing out of their own darkness into the air so that there can be a total healing from the inside out of the raw heart of each individual. So the feelings that are now then allowed afterwards will be the feelings that are set within consideration and a natural order of understanding of the value and the involvement of love. Because within love is a range of great rage all the way to blissful passion and everything in between. So the ripple effect is very important now on your place. This too shall pass. It will pass to the place that the earth will get a chance to become of the whole again. It's a choice of the peoples of all walks of life and all different skin colors, whether they will survive and to what level and to what magnitude. The magnificence is the harmony of earth and the beings of earth being one and the same, and of the earth being of the council and the council being of the heavens, and therefore in the individualization back to the colors of all the rainbow, there will be one pinpoint of touch. And that one pinpoint of touch will be the true prayer that everyone is cared about on every level, in all ways. There will always be some suffering. The suffering will be mitigated by the community collecting around the sufferer and helping. Are there any questions? Would there be anything you would like to say to us?
No questions.
So that is but part of a message, and it is within the time that we have. Correct?
Correct.
We do not want to go overtime. because God knows your minds have been running over time long enough. May your hearts sing. May your minds know. May your beings be no longer afraid of each other, so that harmony and unity will become the words of the next century. Amen.
Amen. That's beautiful. So basically, we're going to get to a point in our time as humans that we're going to get along more and get along better.
Yes, and we're going to forget that human is wrong, and we're going to remember, you know, it's like the Aborigines people. They never put each other down. They only cultivate the pearls that each carry because they know that's what makes the whole community. Without one, you have a totally different dream catcher, don't you?
Yes.
So it's about what do we all have? You know, I have dream catchers all over my house, and most of them have pearl beads in them.
I see the one behind you.
Yes. I have that one there. I have one tooth here, one there, one in my bedroom. Those beads are the human beings, and the threads are the connection with each other.
Mm.
You know, I could feel that Isaiah wanted to get into some heavy things, but we just don't have the time, really, unless I'm just running too fast here, you know, about the heaviness, about the harm, about the suffering here. But that's for another session. That's for a session where we have a whole hour to allow people to process their feelings, to ask questions, to let the energy of Isaiah or spirit of ourselves, when we get out of our own way, to come through the screen and touch others.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Now we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching the show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today.
I would love each of you to take away that I'm not above you. Anything I've said here today is also you, that you can do this. You got this. We were born for this time. We came, the ships are solid. They're out of the docks. They're coming to the deep ocean, and they're going to lead us to a place that our children's children will finally know home again. For each of you in the searching, take heart. You're being watched and heard, and sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes it comes right away. Sometimes it comes 3 years later after you forgot you put the prayer out there. Know that you're not alone, that spirit is all around you, that we're all here. And like my poor little wounded child, stop believing that no one cares, so the ones that do care can come to you and you can go to them. And if you're at that place where you can throw the angel dust in the air, then go ahead and give that offering out, my dears, because this is the time to plant those seeds and get those trees growing. We're on our way. God bless all of you, really.
Thank you. And where can people find you?
AmayaCenter.com. It has my phone number, my email address. I'm on Facebook, Amaya Center. Twitter is Amaya Victoria, and Instagram is Amaya Center. Come see me. I do everything on Zoom. Yes, I do readings, I do healings. I'm getting ready to do some workshops. And my pricing is still half price to May 1st. So come see me, buy gift certificates. I'll honor them for 6 months at half price. But Spirit keeps telling me May the light comes back on, so then everything's going to go back to the 185, the 175, the 160. Okay.
Now you're doing it half off.
Right, half off for now.
Okay, that is wonderful. Amaya, dear, it's always a pleasure when I have the opportunity to sit and speak with you. I want to thank you for being a guest on today's episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it from the archives. I definitely appreciate your support, but I always ask that you don't just watch the show. And we appreciate you sharing the show, but please don't just share the show. Support our guests. Visit Amaya's website at amayacenter.com. Follow her on social media, reach out to her. And when you do, please let her know Sharifah Hardie says hi. Now, if you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast, visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until next time, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.